Thinking about launching a podcast but overwhelmed by all the moving parts? At TurnKey Podcast Productions, we take the hassle out of podcasting so you can focus on the talk, not the tech. From concept to launch, guest booking to post-production, we handle everything. Need a strategy to grow your show and turn guests into clients? Yep, we do that too. DIY or done for you, we've got the solution that fits. Whether you're just getting started or ready to scale, TurnKey is your behind-the-scenes podcast team. TurnKey Podcast Productions. Your voice, your message, fully produced. Learn more at turnkeypodcast.com/contact. That's turnkeypodcast.com/contact.
I'm moving to Montana soon. Gonna be a dental floss tycoon. Or maybe I'll just listen to today's Nice Guys on Business.
Basically, a lot of people who've been very successful in franchises, they want to retire. And they have a right-hand person who's been there with them for years, who knows the business inside and out. And it would be great for continuity of the business if they could become the owner. But the problem is they were working for the owner and don't have the money laying around. So we see that as that's the best possible person to take over that business.
Right.
And it's great for the franchisee. It's great for that owner or that operator who becomes the franchisee. And the brands love it themselves because they don't have to take a guess on, is this person going to be a good owner now? Now they know, oh yeah, he's been with us for years. We love that guy. We'd love for him to be a franchisee. So it's really just a everyone wins scenario.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. But first, I made him listen to the Nice Guys on Business. That'll teach him. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, Nice Guy community. Today on the Nice Guys on Business, we're joined by Kenny Rose. He is the founder and CEO of FranShares. Now, Kenny started FranShares in 2020 to open up franchise investing to everyday people, not just high net worth clients or individuals. With a background in evaluating, with a background in, I can't even say that word right now. Let me get back to it. With a background in evaluating more than 600 franchises across 100 plus industries, he knew how powerful franchising could be for building wealth. FranShares opens the franchise door into diversified portfolios starting at just $500, and Kenny's team manages the operations. His expertise has been featured in outlets like Business Insider, Forbes, ABC, The Hustle, American Express, small-time outfits like that. And his Amazon featured book, More Than Just French Fries. Also, it's a part of the deal too. Let's learn something about franchising. I'm excited to talk to Kenny. Welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks for having me, Doug. Super excited and always love enlightening people in the world of franchising. It's this big gorilla and elephant in the room that everyone knows about, but doesn't really know what's underneath the hood.
Well, and that's just it. I never even realized, and maybe there's an angle here that I just didn't understand how this happens. But I always thought when you were getting into franchises, you were buying into a specific franchise, and maybe that's how it is with you, and maybe it isn't. So from a curiosity perspective, why don't you take me from a 35,000 foot approach, and then I'll start to dial in a little closer to land. But what is it that your organization does that isn't just selling and brokering franchises?
Yeah. Well, basically, most people don't have $1 million laying around to opt to purchase a franchise. And even if they did, they don't want to run it. And then also those who want to run franchises don't always have access to capital because they got all their experience running the franchise. So what FranShares does is we connect investors to invest directly into the entrepreneurs that are running the franchise. And so you could build your own portfolio with things like, your typical big food ones like Burger King and Pizza Hut, all the way to your home services ones like a Mr. Electric or Molly Maid. And so it's really your ability to build a portfolio of franchises that's a cash flowing investment that's really diversified from the stock market.
So it sounds like there was an intersection at some point in your professional career between being either an investment advisor or a strategist to somebody that was involved in franchises. So maybe take us back a little bit in your career and share how that evolved.
Yeah, coming out of college, I was an advisor at Merrill Lynch and, helping high net worth people build and preserve their net worth. And, I realized that just wasn't for the big wirehouses. It was not really my personality, what I wanted to do long term, and did some soul searching and wanted to see what else is out there. And I got a curveball and was asked, what do you know about franchising? And now, mind you, at the time, I lived in a town that like didn't allow franchises at the time. Like they were a really small touristy town, and so I'm like, oh, McDonald's and Subway, and that's when I found out that they franchise everything. Like any industry you can think of, there are franchises for it. And so I got into the industry as what's called a franchise broker. Basically, if you said, hey, I want to hang up the headset and go run a franchise, but I don't know which one, I'd help you understand which brands are a good fit for you based on your budget, your skill set, and your goals. And then over time, I realized what I was alluding to previously that, if you have the money for it, you don't want to run a franchise. And if you want to earn from a franchise, you either need enough money or roll up your sleeves and do it yourself. And so there's this big disconnect between who the best operators are and where capital comes from. And, a few years ago, we started seeing the democratization of alternative assets. Like now, I think it's for as little as $50, you can invest in commercial real estate. You can get $500 shares of a Picasso on Masterworks, but there wasn't the ability to fractionally invest into franchising, where to me, it actually makes the most sense of any of these platforms. And so, you mentioned that we started in 2020, which is a interesting time to start a business, but I was running my brokerage and then read an article that people were gambling on the stock market because sports were not. And I was like, oh, investing doesn't make sense. It's time to go and start this idea I've had for a while. And so we've been around for 5 years now, worked with all sorts of different brands and investors. And it's been a really great journey. We're just at the, honestly, a lot of great things coming down the pipeline too.
Well, and it seems like such an interesting thing to invest in, because if you think about it, Nice Guy Community, and we've had many franchise experts on the podcast and talking about what they do, and as either a broker or as a franchisor, or even as franchisees, we've had people on the show before. There is a greater probability of success within the franchise environment because it's a documented system and process and operations that are in play. How do you feel like, or maybe you can share a little bit about the track record of some of the strategies that you have just overall when it comes to somebody's come to you, they have $10,000 they want to invest, and what kind of results are you typically seeing? And again, I'm not going to hold you to this as far as past performance does not determine future results, but can you help me out just a little bit? How does a franchise work better than, say, investing in the stock market or taking your 10 grand and putting in Robinhood at various different stocks?
And not to say that one's better than the other. It's just building a portfolio strategy, and so it's good to have a little bit of everything. But where this is really different is that it's really diversified. From there's not as much you're not a tweet away from your stock going down, and so it's nice to have something that's really just an independent small business, but has the backbone and support of the franchise business. And I always say that there's really two main reasons why a franchise does go out of business. It's the operator or the brand. And so we vet very heavily on the brands to make sure that they are, not just household names, but ones that are quickly growing, have great same store sales. And then the operator, there's a lot of people who get into franchising that were in the corporate world before, because frankly, they have the money to be able to do it. And usually they don't want to go back to another corporate job. But when you think about why you start a business, to not go back to work is a terrible reason. And also to, hope that your skill set can transition from, hey, I managed 100 employees to now I'm going to run this small business of 5. It's a huge gap and massive transition that you hope for the best, but it's just honestly not the best odds for success. Instead, you want to invest in the people who are already doing it, whether that's a franchisee that's trying to scale and grow to multiple locations that's already shown success, or you've got the operators that call it like a district manager for Dunkin'. They've been with the brand 10 years, know it inside and out. They make an incredible franchisee, but they work for Dunkin' corporate. They don't have $1 million laying around, but that's who you want to invest in as someone who's like deploying capital into the franchise space. We've never had anything close before. And honestly, we try and target 15 to 20% returns. It's a combination of income as well as growth of equity in the business. And, really great success story I love to talk about is we worked with a brand called Teriyaki Madness, up and coming brand, 300 plus locations. And they had this husband-wife team. They were store launchers for Buffalo Wild Wings. So they opened like 150 locations between them. Like dynamite potential franchisees, but they don't have $1 million laying around. And so we funded their location. And I like to, I always say under promise, over deliver. And, we said, hey, average location does this. It's going to take 4 years to get there. And they actually beat those numbers in the first year. And that's what happens when you've got like real hands-on owner operators who know what they're doing. And, so when you go on our platform, you get to see things like mom and pops like them, all the way up to your typically private equity backed ones that've got 400 or 500 locations that just don't want to raise from private equity anymore. And so, yeah.
Let me just throw something in here because I want to make sure that we're telling our audience exactly the direction that we're trying to go. I heard two different things in here. One is the potential to invest in proven track record franchises at a much smaller capital outlay than laying out $1 million or even $50,000 for a franchise. Then I heard you switch to, well, we have somebody that used to work and opened up a whole bunch of stores, and then you back them. So tell me a little bit about, because there was two sides. One is the investor investing in, hands off, and then you mentioned this couple that has been very successful. So tell me about how that works.
We're a platform that sits between. We are connecting investors to invest into those operators. And so basically, we are not franchise operators ourselves, but we're the platform that's connecting investors to invest into those franchisees or prospective franchisees that have all the experience, but not the net worth or access to capital.
I got it. Okay. So there, it sounds like there's two areas. You're the in-between person. So area one, you're connecting the individual investor and his money to a franchisor or a franchisee, either way. Yeah. Franchisee. Then on the other side, you're also helping to support the franchisee franchisor or franchisee. You have to maybe help me there for a second to actually get their branch or their individual franchise off of the ground. Is that?
Yep, exactly. So we're a two-sided marketplace. So we're connecting those investors looking to deploy capital with franchise operators looking to raise capital.
And the franchise owners that are looking to raise capital, they don't have access to the dollars because they don't have the deep pockets. So they're coming to an organization like you. It sounds like there's a lot of white space in here. I'm not even familiar with what you did. Is this a concept that you came up with, or is this a concept that's been around?
Nope, I came up with it, and we're the only ones that do it. I'd say the closest comparison for what we do, especially on like the operators to owners, is actually Chick-fil-A. Most people think it costs $1 million or $2 million to open a Chick-fil-A, but it actually only costs $10,000. And what they do is they make it so you have to work within the business, work your way up to management, and then apply. And if you get accepted, it's only $10,000. And so because of this, they now have a lower acceptance rate than Harvard. And they also have the highest average unit volume or sales of any franchise. And you could say it's the chicken sandwich, but when you see a Chick-fil-A commercial, it's not like McDonald's where they're like showing the burger and the fries. It's the operator sitting in a chair,
right,
talking with a customer, because that's what franchising is at the end of the day. They're small businesses with small business owners. The difference is that in the Chick-fil-A model, those people actually don't have equity in the business. And it's honestly a real shame. Like they're almost like glorified managers, but we want to do it. So let's turn those managers into actual owners by connecting them with, think about it like they're raising from friends and family. We just bring a whole lot more friends to the table for them.
It sounds like there are some people that are out there that like to sit in the stands and watch a game. Then there are some people that like to be on the sidelines and coach the game. And then there are some people that like to be in the game. So as an investor, are they coaching or are they sitting in the stands? Because it doesn't sound like they are the actual operator, so they're not a player in the game.
Yeah. So when you're investing, you're sitting in the stands. You get, updates on how the business is performing, but you don't have to contribute to the day to day. You're not telling them how to run the business. You're truly a passive investor. What I do like to say that, I like that you use the stands example, because what I always like to say is we promote local investors first. Because if you invest in a local franchise, you're going to go to that franchise. You're going to tell your friends to go there, just like fans of that team. And so, besides just bringing access to capital, bringing access to community is a huge part of what we do, and we're really excited for because you're always going to go to those businesses that you own a piece of. And so, I'm hoping for the day where, like, I'm sitting in Chicago. I want to own a piece of where I go to eat, where I get my clothes dry cleaned, where I get my hair cut, where I go work out. Like, these are all franchises that are out there that you could be owning a piece of.
Very interesting. As a matter of fact, I just got back about 5 days ago from Chicago. I was visiting some clients in LaGrange. Had we had this interview maybe a few days before, I would have had a chance to come and see you and visit
Oh, that's
and
funny.
see what you're all about. So, similar or dissimilar to your life at Merrill Lynch, is any of this stuff regulated by whatever FDIC or whatever the organizations are that
So
are out there?
we work with two forms of regulation. But the investment side, it's SEC regulated. And so basically they had changes within the last 10 to 15 years that allowed for essentially crowdfunding and having equity. This all started with Kickstarter, and they proved that like a whole bunch of people wanted to get around a product or service. And eventually they said, well, could I have ownership in it? And they said, no, that's a SEC issue because now you're selling a security. But they created new laws. The Jobs Act, or Jumpstart Our Businesses and Startups, allowed for this crowdfunding where you get equity into it. So we have SEC regulation, but then also franchising itself is regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. And so we actually use both of these to really support like transparency, as well as confidence in your investments. It's the same thing when you're selling franchise, that like the FTC regulates franchising to protect franchise buyers. And so they disclose things like who the leadership is, company financials, how much locations make, is there litigation against them? And so we get to use all of these as tools for investors to understand the brand that they're investing in. But you're always investing in the brand and the operator and the opportunity. And so we make sure you understand who this person is, how they've been as a franchisee, and why you'd want to invest in them.
So, are you investing in the individual that is going to take that franchise, that individual franchise location, so as a franchisee, or are you investing in the overall franchise? It doesn't sound like if it doesn't sound like I'm investing in the overall franchise. It sounds like I'm investing in an individual, not in a company. Is
Yeah,
that right?
typically you're investing in the individual and their locations. So usually they're going to be doing a few of them. And so you get to say, hey, this is John in LaGrange, and John's going to be starting 5 Burger Kings. You're going to get to invest in the development of those 5 Burger Kings.
Interesting.
There's also opportunities where like there's acquisitions going on. Great thing that we're seeing a lot, and you'll see a lot of deals come up with this soon, is basically a lot of people who've been very successful in franchises, they want to retire. And they have a right-hand person who's been there with them for years, who knows the business inside and out. And it would be great for continuity of the business if they could become the owner. But the problem is they were working for the owner and don't have the money laying around. So we see that as that's the best possible person to take
Right.
over that business.
Right.
And it's great for the franchisee. It's great for that owner or that operator who becomes the franchisee. And the brands love it themselves because they don't have to take a guess on, is this person going to be a good owner now? Now they know, oh yeah, he's been with us for years. We love that guy. We'd love for him to be a franchisee. So it's really just a everyone wins scenario.
I think about some of the investment opportunities that I've come across, especially since being a host on this show. We've done 1,000+ interviews in the 1,600 episodes that we've done, so a lot of things have come across my table. And one of the things I've invested in, and now I have a considerable amount of money in now and well diversified in it, is commercial real estate, because the upside is that every quarter I receive a check. The downside, if you want to even call it a downside, is I get to spend my time in the stands rather than coaching or on the field itself. If there is a downside to it, it's you're a limited partner, so you really don't have any voting rights. You really don't, unless you put it in a trust, you don't even have the ability to pull yourself out of the investment. What's it like as an investor that's working with you, that's supporting a franchisee and getting something started? How much control or lack of control do they have? I'm not saying lack of control is bad. Sometimes it's better if you have a pro that's at the helm. But what is that like for an individual that's investing in your company?
Yeah. So investors are passive and non-voting, but they aren't alone. So it's like when you're investing in commercial real estate or startups, it's like there's a lot of different heads in the room of like, where can this business go? What can it do? Where you would want voting control. But when you're in the franchise, you've got an established business and systems in place. And so they're not going to go do something wild and crazy because the
Right.
franchisor keeps them in check and says, this is how the business runs. And the franchisee wants to follow the game plan. Like that, they know it's a proven
System.
way to do it. So like, why go against it? And we invest, we connect investors to people who have been following the system. And so really it's like, there's not really much to vote on because they're following just a pre-existing plan. And I always love the comparison to commercial real estate because again, I don't think it's bad to invest. You should invest in a little bit of everything, but I like to use your example. Actually, it's like you're investing in the field. It's like, well, the field's nice, but I want to be with the players. I want to enjoy the wins. I want to understand the people and be excited for them. But commercial real estate also comes that downside of usually that football field you're investing in is a couple thousand miles away. You're not even in the community of it. And it's just
100%.
a line item in the portfolio. That's it. Did it go up or down? And with this, yes, it gets to go up, but also you get to like see these people create businesses, hire people, and it's really exciting. And there's actually a lot of great tax incentives that have come about with it too, because especially if you're doing new locations, it's that like you are creating a business, and so that investment can be written off against your taxes. And so, I think it's just really exciting with the ability to like have the cash flow component, have the equity growth, be growing businesses, creating business owners, getting new employees. And it's just a really exciting thing that frankly, everyone I feel like has had a daydream of like, man, I wish I owned 10 Dunkins. It's like, well, now you can. You just don't have to do all the work for it.
Similar to maybe some investment products that are out there, and in commercial real estate, I know we get a quarterly report, we get a dividend check, or we get something that in the way. How does the process unfold for investors that working with your organization?
Yeah, so they're quarterly, actually pretty much the exact same way. You're getting quarterly updates that are both financial but also qualitative. Like you understand, like what have you been doing in the community? Like, those same franchisees I was mentioning before, they're now sponsors of the new football field there. And they have one of the largest, their Friday night games have like 15,000 people. It's insane. And so you get to hear about those things as well that will eventually show up in the P&L and in your dividend checks. But you're getting quarterly dividends. I should say, depends on the offering. Some of them are growth focused that don't have dividends. Some are more income focused that do have those quarterly dividends.
Nice.
So it's cool that you can build really your own portfolio of different industries, different growth objectives, different risk profiles, and really just like you have your own portfolio in stocks. I want people to have a portfolio in franchises.
And typically, what does a client look like to you? Is it someone that is putting in X amount of dollars or in this amount of projects that you have? How does that particularly work?
Yeah, so in the past, it's been for accredited investors with a minimum of 10,000, but we're opening it up for non-accredited investors, a minimum of just $500. And so there isn't really like one particular type of investor other than the fact that they are investors because, it's kind of like who's the type of investor for stocks. It's like, well, there's a lot of different types. And frankly,
Right.
there are more franchise brands out there than there are stocks on the NASDAQ. So there's a lot to go through, which is where we come in of like vetting the brands and the operators ahead of time. And then it really just comes down to personal preference of what you're looking for. Some people hate fast food. Others are like, man, I'm late. I want to get on and like open it up in these new areas. And so you can really build a portfolio based on your own criteria. So all sorts of different investors come in different ways.
What's your capacity look like right now? How many different brands are you working with, and how many of those brands are you really invested in terms of like major excitement, major stuff going on? I'm sure you're excited about each and every one of them, but what's a typical portfolio look like to you right now?
They're so different. Like, it ranges from, we've got one of the top 10 largest operators of any franchises out there. They've got, I think, 450 locations. And we started off doing a deal with with Pizza Hut to expand it in the Northeast. And then they loved the process of the results so early on that they expanded with us and launched with, we're doing Dunkin' to bring it to the state of Louisiana and Missouri. And then we're doing Burger King. It's actually 5 of their best locations in the system that are just getting remodeled. And then we've got things like the service brands where we're helping like new owners take over for the previous owners. We've also got like things like hotels coming on board really soon. What's really cool is that a lot of the industry has started to see, hey, we want owner operators and they need help to get there.
Right.
And we're that, like, they're starting to come up with programs they don't know how to fund, and we're that way of funding them. So it's been really cool to see the market really come up to us as we're coming up as well. So
It seems like
yeah.
you'd be open to, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you're not only open to people that are looking to use this as an investment opportunity, but are you looking for also people that are franchise that work within a brand and are interested in buying one of the brands as
Oh
well?
yeah. Oh yeah. I even tell these brands too. I'm like, they have what are called franchise business coaches,
Right.
or basically they're internal people that go and support all the locations. It's like, yeah, those people literally train franchisees. They would make great franchisees. And so we're basically saying like, hey, that person's going to leave you eventually because there's not a ton of upward mobility. We get to create that. So now they can become an owner and then they can scale franchising. The scalability is just endless. There are many billion-dollar companies that are just franchisees of things.
Yeah, very cool. I really do like your model. It's very cool. I have not heard of this model before, and it sounds like Nice Guy Community. Here's an opportunity to get involved in the franchise world, even if you don't want to become a franchisee yourself. So this could be an opportunity for you to do that.
It's nice guys supporting nice guys.
Nice guys. Hey, very good. Very nice play on words there. Thank you for using that, Kenny. If somebody was interested in getting information about how you do what you do, where would be the best spot for them to do that?
Well, obviously you can go to our corporate website. It's franshares.com, like shares of franchises. I wasn't too creative in that name on purpose, but I always encourage people to connect with me personally. I'm big on LinkedIn. So like if you search me, Kenny, last name Rose, like the flower, and mention that you heard us on here, always happy to chat and just grow the network of nice guys out there.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'll make sure we put a link to. I think I got your LinkedIn, Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook, and of course
I threw the kitchen sink at you.
You really do. I got it all. So we'll make sure we get that information out to our community. Anything that I should be asking you that I'm not that you would like to share with our community, because I want to make sure we hit a home run for your brand as well, Kenny.
Um, I feel like we've covered just about actually, one thing I always like to say is that some people get caught up in like, I need to know the brand name, like it's got to be Burger King. But there's a lot of brands that are really up and coming. Like I mentioned there's more brands than there are stocks on the NASDAQ.
Right.
Only 10 or 15% of those have 100 or more locations. But once they hit that 100 location mark, they are cooking. Like, well, pun intended. But those are brands that like you could get in early and invest in great operators. Like one example is we work with a brand called Hawaiian Bros, and they've got like 300 locations open or in development, and the operators we're working with, they're actually multi-unit, multi-brand franchisees, and so they've like won developer of the year at Scooter's Coffee, which is the second largest behind Dunkin' in the coffee space. They own like 20 something hotels within Choice Hotels, like Comfort Inn, Sleep Inn, those guys. They were Verizon Store Developer of the Year. And so they've just like proven that they are great operators in different industries. And when you meet them, they're just the most salt of the earth guys ever. Like you can actually go on our offering pages and watch videos of them where they talk about themselves and their experience. And so, I always say like, you want to look at the brand, the operator, and the opportunity, but don't be too biased or shy away from something just because you're not familiar with it, because they have great opportunities there. And everyone loves to say, oh, I almost got into McDonald's 20 years ago. It's like, well, you can now. You just have to actually like see what's there.
It's interesting as I listen to you talk and listen to your enthusiasm about the people within the organizations, the brands that you represent, and that you're finding investors for. I think about the impersonal nature oftentimes that there is in stocks and bond investing, and the personal nature that's involved in the franchise business itself. And I can see that you have some drive in this side of things where it may not have hit the flame or the spark on the other side as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, honestly, it's just all numbers in the investment, like in the stock world. And as much as it is numbers here too, it's very people driven. And honestly, you make money investing in good people at the end of the day.
Yep. Well, Kenny, I appreciate you sharing your message and your business with my community. Hopefully we'll be able to move the needle for you. So thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Kenny Rose. All of his information, including access to his website and all of his contact information, will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
If you're hearing my voice right now, you obviously enjoyed the podcast. So why not help the guys out? Click on the Patreon link in the show notes, and for as little as $2 a month, you can show your support. Or show us whatever you want.